Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Talkin Kop. It's me, Chris Brack, and I'm here with Ash and Kev. I thought I'd actually join the show with the two of them for a change. So, how are you both? We haven't done a show for ages.
Yeah, we're grand as long. I mean, you're healthy, you're fit, you're able, and you're ready for action.
No, none of them.
Ah, fuck's sake.
Absolutely nothing new there.
Useless.
How
I
are
feel
you,
like
Ash?
you need to get your immune system, checked out. I feel like you've been sick for about a month.
That's how it feels.
Oh
It
my
generally feels like
goodness.
I've not been able to get rid of this bug. It's horrible.
Um,
No, not too bad, but yeah. So, well, footy, but just in time for proper footy. So, you know, Kev, 15 weeks and 6 days, just so you know, just to keep you excited. Oh, if you didn't watch Patreon, you'll just never know. Another reason to become a patron, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, actually, proper football's back.
indeed.
Some of our players got bits of rest in international break. Not everyone got loads of minutes. Well, apart from McAllister, but he's never going to get rested by Argentina. But all in all, I think the ones who needed minutes got minutes, and the ones quite a few of the likes of Gravenberch got rested a little bit as well, which is good.
Yeah, and there were a few players that I think needed the minutes. Like I think Bradley needed the minutes. It was nice to see Isak get on the pitch just for a little bit, even if it wasn't necessarily meaningful minutes. And then it was nice to just see a couple of our guys come back, maybe that weren't on international duty, like a Frimpong coming back into training. And I think that was really good. And even Ibu, who we kind of were worried about at the end of last game, the fact that he played for France and was able to kind of, instantly rebound from, I guess, what was just cramp, bodes really well. So I'm glad overall, other than Jones, it seems like we didn't really pick up any other injuries. So far so good in that regard.
Yeah, that was a blow, wasn't it, Kev? Slot, sorry, God, done that again. Slot announcing. Don't know if you knew Jones is injured. You could tell just like, oh, no one knew that one. So apparently he picked it up. A bit of murmuring. I think it's a groin injury he's picked up. But the fact he picked up at the Arsenal game and it's 2 weeks later and he's still not back is a slight concern. Obviously, it must be a little bit more than just a twinge, I would say.
Yeah, but the one thing you can safely say about Arne Slot that he did pick up from Jurgen Klopp is he's a flat out liar when it comes to players' injuries.
This is true.
And we won't know until we see the videos where he's back in training. You hope it's nothing major. But yeah, the fact that it was diagnosed and he's been out for 2 weeks and he hasn't been seen, and I don't think I've even seen him pop up in the gym work once. So we'll see the thing is. I think he's an important type of player for the way we're playing at the minute, especially as an option off the bench.
Well, you saw that against Arsenal. That was probably the sub that really gave Liverpool the impetus.
Yeah, he's got that jack of all trades quality, and it might be a hindrance to him in his career, but it's a massive asset to us, to the squad. He'll be, if he's missing for a period of time, it could be missed. I mean, the game's got to come thick and fast now. We were just talking about it before we come on. I mean, between Sunday, Champions League, League Cup, League. They're going to start rolling into each other now, and you wonder when the squad management actually. I think the squad management starts tomorrow, and we saw it last season where Arne Slot boxes off these games in sections, and he'll usually try to box games off in blocks of 6, and he'll rotate the squad around those 6 games between managing minutes with substitutions and managing starts. Yeah. And I think it's in fairness with the list that you gave us earlier on about what the squad depth actually looks like now that we're getting players back.
Somebody's phone's gone berserky over there.
Well, I can't hear it. I'm fine. I can't hear a thing.
Which probably means it's you.
No, mine's outside the room.
Yeah, it might be mine. It might be mine. But I'm just looking forward to seeing now if he's going to actually trust this squad that he's literally assembled, and how he's going to start to manage the minutes across the board. Because ultimately, I think there's going to be weeks or games now where you're going to see players miss out the matchday squad, let alone be on the bench, that you might not be expecting. So it puts a lot more pressure on getting the results as well. And it all starts on Sunday. So looking forward to it. But I'm looking forward to the football as well. There's some quality games on this weekend. There's some real story games this weekend.
Yeah, but I mean, actually, the good thing for us, I think you just said it looks like Jones was in the gym, so that's a positive sign. But how are you feel about Burnley? Because obviously this is not Sean Dyche's Burnley. You know, they play a different style. You know, probably not as open as they were under Company, but you know, it's more to that way of playing than the physical route. We've seen with Parker, he's quite adaptable. I think against United and against Arsenal, it was 5 at the back. Against Sunderland, the game that they won, it was 4 at the back. But they are very much still there. Breaks down if you can, but they've got pace and attack.
Yeah, I mean, I was rewatching some clips from the Man United game just to sort of refresh my memory, and you know, it looked like Dubravka actually saved them from that being a lot worse of a score. There was a lot of really good attacks that, you know, Man United just couldn't finish. And I was trying to kind of see, you know, what their most dangerous kind of attacks were coming from. And it was really like these long raking balls, sort of like a Virgil van Dijk style ball going from one side of the pitch to the other, specifically to Mbeumo in that United game. And it happened time and time and time again. And they were able to get behind their defensive line. And it just gives me encouragement for what our team can do. I think that it'll be a good test to play against a team that might, I don't know if they'll sit back and park the bus, but I don't think they'll be quite as front-footed as, say, like a Newcastle or even like a Bournemouth. So I'm curious to see how Slot really adapts to this. But I think my kind of key strategy that I'm looking for is that long ball specifically from Van Dijk, and I think even Ibu has been working on that, and I think we see Szoboszlai come back into midfield, and he's been working on that as well. So yeah, just something to kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah, Kev, this feels like this is the sort of game we bought Florian Wirtz for, which is creative spark against these sides that want to sit deep, that want to, you know, stifle the game. This sort of game that you want him to do. And I thought second half against Arsenal, you were starting to see more of the Florian Wirtz that we have seen at Leverkusen. You know, 3 tough games to bring yourself into the league with, like, but I just feel this sort of game where you're expecting him to be probably that little bit of a bit of magic moment.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I did the same as Ashley. I watched back the United game, and United, the goals they scored were lucky. I mean, but the situations that they created in that game, they had something like 20 odd efforts in that game. Burnley had 6, and the difference is, I suppose, this is we're away, and you'd expect them to have a bit more of a go at Turf Moor. We're still figuring out what this version of Burnley are going to be. They're different to last season. They're 100% different to last season. But I think they'll probably defend from the halfway line. I don't think they'll press the back 4. Some of the selections could be interesting. Also, you look at the signings they made. Kyle Walker, Mason Mount gave him a bit of a doing in that game, the United game, and so did Bruno Fernandes. So much so that Walker had a penalty given against him. It was chalked off, but Fernandes was able to get the run on him. So Cody Gakpo, if he starts on the left against him, is going to be an interesting one. The other thing is Florian Wirtz, obviously, but the fullbacks as well. This might be the first time where we start to see Kirkes and Frimpong or Bradley.
I think it might be Bradley.
Yeah, or Bradley, yeah, but both go at the same time and see how that evolves. It's definitely a game. This is a game I look at them throughout the season. These are a tick box game. You know, you go in, you get your 3 points, you hope there's no injuries, and you move on to the next game. Because if you have ambitions of winning the league, these are the games you can't mess up. You have to be picking 3 points up against the likes of your Burnleys, your Leeds, your sides who are going to be in the bottom 10. At the end of the season, if you pick up 60 points against the sides that are in the bottom 10, you're 2/3 of the way to winning the title.
Which, to be fair, is what we did last season. Last season, I think I was
Yeah.
looking against the bottom 10. Maybe not performances, but I think points total wise was not far off that 60-point mark. I mean, actually, games against the likes for Burnley, they're a bit of a no-win for Liverpool in the sense of anything but a win is seen as a disaster, but anything other than a comfortable win is still going to be heavily criticised because, as Kev says, if you've ambitions to win a title, these are the games you just have to tick off and find a way.
Yeah, I mean, without jinxing it or anything, I mean, I think that we have a decent record against Burnley, especially away. Even though going there always seems like a hard place to go to. But it seems like we tend to get things over the line. I mean, Kev's right. This is the kind of game that you just have to win. I'm curious to see. Slot has sort of alluded to several times that he wants to feel more comfortable in games, and we've seen already twice this season going 2 up and then kind of getting a little bit lax and then immediately conceding 2. I'm curious to see if we can keep control and really almost stamp our authority on the match and hold that authority without just letting the back door hang open. Because I think that we saw that the team can be defensive in that Arsenal match. I don't think we're going to need to be nearly that defensive. But I want to find that balance, and I want to see if Slot can kind of turn that dial up a little bit, because this is going to be that opportunity. The other thing I'm curious about is to see if he's going to start rotating a little bit more, especially around 60 minutes. You've got a lot of players that have got more fitness in their legs, full preseasons, things like that. We have a lot of games coming up. We've got 2 big games this week alone coming up. So we're going to need to keep players fresh. So I'm wondering, do we see a little bit of Chiesa? Do we see a little bit of Ngomoa? Do we see, some sort of switch in the midfield that maybe we're not expecting? I'm not sure. Maybe this is one of those situations where Frimpong comes in and then Bradley moves forward, or vice versa. Where you get Mo off and give him a rest. There's just a couple of things that I'm curious to see because, as Kev alluded to, will Slot rotate because he trusts this small squad more? I'd like to see that happen. And if you're going to do it, Burnley's the spot to do it.
I mean, Kev, Ashley mentioned Chiesa. The manager did name check Chiesa, talking about the most difficult conversation he has to have is to tell a player they're not even in the squad, let alone they're not playing. And he basically said, as you'd expect, Chiesa took it professionally. He said, I'm not saying he agreed with it. He understood my answer. He said, but I'm not saying he agreed. But, the pleasing thing was, Slot, I don't think would say any difference, but he said he's just got his head down. But I think this will be a key thing for Slot is, will he use Chiesa a lot more domestically? Because he can't use him in Europe. So Chiesa is only going to be playing 1 game a week. We can't play midweek now, apart from League Cup games. So is Chiesa going to be almost like his first sub which might keep Chiesa fresh
on the forward line? Yeah, possibly. Look, I think Chiesa would have that conversation wouldn't have been a surprise to him. It can't have been. It's just a case of he must have known that this was the way things were going to go in the summer. Pretty much all of the players would have known what the club's internal plans were as according to transfers. So he would have known where the lay of the land lies. But also the fact that every time I watch him in the behind the scenes videos, you see him in the gym. He looks big. Physically, he looks like he's worked really hard to get himself into really good physical shape, especially his upper body. He looks strong as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see him used more off the bench, especially when you think that he might want to try to manage Mo and potentially in games see what we can do if we can get it safe in a game. How we are going to look without Salah in the team for that period that AFCON is on, and maybe take Salah off on 70 and give someone 20 minutes on that wing and see how they look in that position in games if you're safe. But in fairness, I think Chiesa is one of those players that and he's not alone in this. You can put him in. And I don't think anyone has a problem seeing his number coming up with 15, 20 minutes to go now. It's just it's not like it's Endo time at 10 minutes to go as long as he's not coming on at right back. You know pretty much when Endo comes on that it's that time of the game, unless there's been a disaster somewhere else. But same with Chiesa. If Chiesa's coming on with 15 minutes to go, lately it seems to be like we're chasing. It's not a case of we're managing. But I think that could change. I think he's done nothing wrong. Whenever he's used him, he's done what he's been asked to do, and plus he's come off the bench and scored. So that's all bodes well for him. I hope he does play.
Yeah,
because I think the fact that he could have gone this summer, and I don't think I think he'd have been well within his rights to turn around and say, look at the situation that the club are in at the minute, or that he's in at the minute, not in the Champions League squad. Probably in the back of his mind, knowing that he wasn't going to be in the Champions League squad if Isaac came in. Suddenly, getting grumpy, not to baby out of the bathwater stuff, but you just don't get that impression with him. You just don't.
I mean, the good thing, Ashley, is, good job people don't read our WhatsApp chat. It is, let's be honest, when Chiesa came on against both, we were a bit like, fucking hell, this feels a bit desperate. He's not done much for us, but you've got to give him his due. In the 3 games he's been used this season, he has made positive impacts in every one. He's got a goal in one, heavily involved in the win against Newcastle. And to be honest, when he came against Arsenal, he just did what he wanted to do. He was a pest. He just kept the ball, won free kicks, won corners, all the things you want to do when you lead 1-0 to waste time. So, I think that's why maybe there was an element of surprise he wasn't used in the Champions League squad, because we were like, well, actually, he's done all right in the 3 games. But I think it's probably less about Chiesa. It's more about how much Rio and Gamo has emerged that they think that this feels like too good an option not to have in our squad, and we're going to have to risk an Italian international for it.
Yeah, I think Rio just offers a little bit more energy than Chiesa. Chiesa obviously has, the seniority and the guile and everything. And he is a senior international. There's no doubt about it. But as great as he's been, I do feel whenever he comes on that he's just a little bit behind the pace of the game. I don't know if that's just my perception of things. It just feels like he's still working up to what it means to be in a Premier League match in terms of tracking back specifically. Like, I think going forward, he does a really good job holding up the ball, winning corners, like you said. I just don't necessarily think that he's gotten that off the ball work 100% on. It's gotten better this year. It's noticeably gotten better. But I still feel like that's an area that he could work on. I don't think there's any way that we can really sit here and criticize him. Like, he's a great squad player. He's, the same thing as Endo. They accept their roles. They're not complaining. He's not kicking up a fuss at, the lack of Champions League squad. Even Slot, he did name check him in the press conference, and he said, yeah, he didn't agree with me per se, but he totally understood, and he didn't once kind of make a fuss about it. And I think what you'll see is probably Chiesa stepping in and being one of those senior figures in the cup games, because we will need those figures. And that might be Joe Gomez, that might be, I don't know in midfield if that was like a Curtis Jones or something like that. Just those pillars, that spine that you can really use as senior players to then build around. Chiesa might be that person going forward, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So let's talk about starting 11s, predicted 11s, and then we'll talk about the rest of the weekend, really. So I said Kev, because for once I did research. It's a very rare occasion I do research. What I thought for a start, predicted lineup, a predicted bench, and then we look going, even with no Jones, that with Kev, we felt this was still quite a deep squad and deep bench. So Alisson in goal, we'd expect that. I'm assuming Bradley starts at right back, only because Frimpong's only just back from injury, and to fair to Bradley, he played against Newcastle and he had 2 games for Northern Ireland, so he's probably the fresher. And I think this sort of game probably suits his skill set better. I don't see the centre-backs changing. And I'm assuming Kirkhead will get another run out. I wouldn't surprise me if Andy Roberts' first start of the season is the derby, because that just feels like a very Andy Robertson sort of game. But I think back four, I think the only changes is Bradley in for Bradley coming in for Sobersley. Do you guys see any difference? Or
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll be any different to that. I think the fact that Bradley played back-to-back 90s is going to stand to him. You seen it was funny actually. Did you see the Isaac video when the first Isaac video to come out, and
We,
Frimpong was there doing his gym work and stuff. I just thought it was hilarious. It's just little things, little
yeah.
minds.
Listen, I like the fact that they were playing one of the games and Van Dijk picked Frimpong up like he was a baby and just carried
I mean,
him.
he's about half of his size.
And just carried away, and you just seen Frimpong just seems like everyone's naughty little brother.
Yeah, I just don't think he's a million miles away, but I think you bought him and you have a quality right back in Bradley. You manage the two. If it's alternate weeks, if it's somebody plays 2-3 games in a row and the other does the bench work for 2-3 games and vice versa for the next few games, I think you can trust both of them. It's no problem. It's nice to be in a position where there's no massive rush to get Frimpong back into the 11 straight away, especially with a hamstring. Do it right, and
it's his first. It's his first proper hamstring injury as well. Because I think looking at his injury record, I don't think he's barely had any. He's barely had an injury, especially never a hamstring. So again, it's just how players react to that. Midfield wise, I've gone with Gravenberch, Wirtz, and Szoboszlai. I don't think McAllister starts. I think Ash, we're probably in that luxury now where we know McAllister, first game back after an international break, is generally a little bit slow and a bit lethargic. At least he's not been playing at altitude this time. But with us now having a Florian Wirtz in the squad, that is allowing us to also rotate on McAllister and manage his minutes. Whereas I think like McAllister will start against Everton and will start against Madrid.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, especially because him and Allison were the last to come back from the internationals. I think they were playing Wednesday evening while everyone else was already kind of back at the AXA. So especially, again, if Slot looks back at last year and sort of assesses, what went wrong because we lost that game after the first international break. I think, looking back at McAllister and, some of the performances that he has after internationals, that's just a tiny thing if you're looking for like an incremental increase that you could make. And I think Szoboszlai has shown in the past couple of games that, he's in form, he's hungry. I don't think that you can really leave someone like that out. Just for the sake of, you need to reward that kind of behavior. You need to reward that kind of hunger. And I think that once he's in midfield, I know that a lot of people are really excited about him at right back as an option. But I think when he moves into midfield, he's so much more threatening, and he really links up with Mo Salah in a way that allows Salah to get into the game that didn't happen when he was at right back. So having a traditional right back like maybe Bradley come in, hopefully, I think, will allow Mo Salah to get more into the game this particular time, and then, going forward as the week progresses.
Yeah. And then front three, I think it's the same front three that we've had for the last 3 games. Salah, Ekitike, Gakpo. Isaac, I don't think starts a game in the league or Europe until after October. Until the after October international break. I just think he's going to get measured in.
He'll get dripped in, I think. You might see 10, 15 minutes. They're not going to get overly excited unless there's a game that, shit's hitting the fan and they absolutely need, points. Maybe they give him 30 minutes at most, but they're not going to risk him.
No, I think so. I think the manager even hinted at saying, fans are going to have to just accept that, why am I taking him off or not bringing him on until this time is I'm managing his minutes. I think someone in the chat's put Isak isn't training. He definitely is. He's been training for the last couple of days. He's been rinsing the under-21s. As we saw before.
Yeah, he's not starting though.
He's definitely not starting.
Yeah, he's not.
And you know what? It could be to our benefit for him to, if he doesn't start games until October. Let's just kind of flip it on its head and find the positive. That's going to mean he's so much fresher down the line. So at the tail end of the season, when maybe someone like an Ekitike is fading, you have an Isak that has less miles in his legs at that point in time. So it could actually benefit us in the long run to have, to really, really take our time. And it's almost like what Klopp used to do with like a Fabinho, where it was like, we're really going to nurse you into the team and then let you really take off when you are ready.
Yeah, I mean, the other good thing with Ekitike and Isaac is just a few things I've read in them and a few other programs seen on them is stylistically they're actually very similar.
Yeah.
Difference is Isak has the experience and the more consistent goal threat because of his experience. So it doesn't feel like when you put one or the other and you're gonna have to change the whole way we play. The way we play isn't really going to change very much. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, bench wise, I think it'll be something like Mamadashvili, Frimpong, Robbo, Gomez, Endo, McAllister. And then I think he'll go Chiesa, Isak, and I think he'll probably go Ingamoa just to give him options, which means the likes of Leone and Dan's, Bajcetic, and Leone aren't being used. So, Leone probably is going to get his first sort of real meaningful minutes probably at Southampton in the Cup. Because at the moment, he's rightfully fourth choice, and then, like I said, as seasons progress, players get more minutes. But I don't see us putting two centre backs on the bench. I don't really see the point of having two centre backs on the bench, especially when Gomez is the most versatile because he can cover a few areas.
No, that was the kind of thing that we used to do when we didn't have a fullback to put on the bench. You'd have two centre backs. One of them would be Joe Gomez because he was covering the bench options. But I would be very surprised if Rio Ingamoa doesn't get meaningful minutes in this game. I think a game like this, it'll do him absolutely no harm to have 15 minutes at the end of it against Kyle Walker. I think it'll do his confidence the world. It won't hurt him if he goes in 15 minutes to go and Kyle Walker just manages him and uses his space to manage Rio. Learn from it. Or Rio could come in and absolutely rip him to shreds.
I think the latter is probably possible. And Madge makes a great point too. Yeah. Imagine how deflated other teams will be when they see Isak coming on. If you have Isak through the middle and Ingamoa on the other side, and you're tired at 70 minutes, teams are just going to throw their hands up and they're going to be like, "What the F?"
But I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, they're not going. I don't buy into this stuff that Ekitike is going to play on the left. I just don't. I mean, he's done it a few times. It's kind of like Endo's played fullback a few times. He ain't fucking very good. Just because it says it on transfermarket.com that he's got like a little circle with RB on it. Yeah, he played right back a little bit. Ekitike has played left wing a little bit. He's not a left winger. And the main reason he's not a left winger is the work that Cody Gakpo does going the other way. Ekitike doesn't do it naturally. And if you're in the Premier League, something as simple as that, exposing a fullback, is lethal, especially in this league where every side has got really good wingers. So I think that you'll see a case where Ekitike and Isak will rotate that number 9 position. Someone will play 70 and get 20 at the end. Then down the line, it'll be flipped, and they'll manage that position between the two of them. You're going to be playing in 4 competitions. You need 2 quality strikers. The fact that they cost the bones of 200 million to bring them in, it doesn't matter because ultimately you've brought in 2 number 9s. You're only going to play one.
Or you might
from
be
the
like
start. From the start.
I think the only time you'll see Ekitike left wing could be like 15 minutes to go. You want to take Gakpo off, and you go. You drift left.
Yeah, I'm talking about starting games.
Starting, yes, I agree.
Is there an argument that is there an argument that we could see almost the reverse of what happened to Diaz last year, though? Because Slot likes to take players and look at their strengths and sometimes reimagine their positions and find what their best position is. And so maybe that is center forward.
Yeah.
But maybe he uses Ekitike in a similar way to Diaz, where, just based on what's needed in the squad, over time, he develops him as that left winger. Not now, right this second, but he's young. And there might be qualities there.
Or at least make him an option there. Maybe not his first choice, but he's an option.
Yeah, like as a rotational option.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I just look at it the way that I just think that you need 2 number 9s. I mean, we didn't have Diaz and Jota for large chunks of last season. And we were forced to be imaginative and use Diaz in that situation where we had to figure something out. When we lost one and then lost the other, it became that's how we're going to do it now. Diaz is going to be through the middle. He's going to be the 9, and we're just going to make hay while the sun shines. And as an option to be able to use him on the left, fine, great, no problem. But Szoboszlai's probably played more on the left wing than
It'll be
most players.
It'd be
I mean,
interesting.
Florian Wirtz also can play left wing.
Florian Wirtz as well, but Dominic Szoboszlai spent a season playing on the left wing.
He does that internationally as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
as well?
We do have options there other than Ekitike, and that's why I look at it. I think it also means that you're not forcing the issue with Isak early.
Yeah,
and I would be a bit surprised if against Atletico Madrid, Isak gets 10, 15 minutes at the end of it. Because the 20 minutes that he got for Sweden at the end of that, bear in mind, Sweden needed a result. They had to get a result. And they had to try. I don't know whether it was planned or not. I just think that was a case of needs must. But he hasn't really trained in anger for months. So I'm not expecting him to start anytime soon. But I think you could definitely use match day minutes to boost his fitness. And if that's 10, 15 minutes at the end of games, when you want to take Ekitike off and keep him fresh while you're nursing Isak back to full fitness, I think that's how you can probably do it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I'm looking forward to seeing is what we do with Mogos and AFCON, because it wouldn't surprise if you end up seeing an Ekitike, Isak front two, and Florian Wirtz as the 10 behind them. Just go like a diamond route, just something a bit different, which will probably work for 5 or 6 games. By the time teams get used to it, Mo Salah's back and we go back to 4-3-3, just to keep teams guessing. Yeah. So it's nice to have those options. Right, Kev.
I just want to address it 1 sec. Hang on. Madge is saying there's so many ads popping up in the chat. What's going on in the chat, guys? Because we're not actually in there. Is it a case that people are getting ads in where they're not supposed to be, or is the show breaking for ads or stuff? Will you just let us know? If it is, will you
I'm on YouTube on my desktop and I'm not seeing them. So it might just be for certain people. I don't know.
Yeah. If it is a problem, will you guys message us on Telegram and we'll see if it can be rectified our end.
Okay. Madge is saying it's just in the chat. Okay. We'll do a little bit of research after. Sometimes YouTube changes the settings without letting anyone know. And so sometimes we have shows where ads pop in while we're doing a live show, which is never our intention. Yeah. I didn't even know they could pop up in the chat. So we'll definitely bring that up to Gav and just investigate that after. So sorry about that for today.
Thanks, Madge.
And thanks for letting us know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kev, score prediction and who's the goal scorers?
3-1. Salah, Ekitike brace.
Nice. Ash?
I think Ekitike is going to get 2 as well. The way the goals were being set up for Man United, like if he hangs out right in the 6-yard box, I think it's going to be like the perfect game for him to be a poacher. I'd love to see Ngamoa get a goal here as well. And then I'd like to see Mo Salah get on the score sheet because I think he's been a little bit out of form and this is the perfect time and the perfect game, I think, for him to kind of reintegrate himself. I'm going to say 4-1. I'm not sure if we will keep a clean sheet again. I think that was a little bit more of an anomaly. I think we were a little bit more conservative because it was Arsenal, but I think, maybe Slot will allow them to have a little bit more freedom and that might end up, having a hiccup on the other end, but I trust our guys going forward.
Fair enough. Who are your goal scorers? I didn't hit. You realized
Me?
about 5.
Mo and Ngamoa and Ekitike with 2.
Okay, cool. I'll go 3-0. Mo, Ekitike, and Isak in the last 5 minutes.
That would be lovely.
Yeah. Wouldn't be bad, no? Yeah. I mean, do you guys? I mean, I watched the United highlights back, and I remember watching the game at the time. United had plenty of chances, but I always felt Burnley were in it, especially on the counter. They carry a fair life threat in it. I don't think it's going to be. And the games against Burnley, I mean, we did the goals show last night on Patreon. There wasn't many games that you'd say were easy at Turf Moor. And I know there were different variations of Burnley, be it Sean Dyche or Vincent Kompany. It can tend to be a bugger of a ground to go to. And because it's small, it's tight. And, they're generally a side that has plenty of pace going the other ways. So I don't think it's all going to be plain sailing, but it's one you should be going to win. To be fair,
Yeah, it's fair enough. So before we're going to cover the other weekend's games in a minute. As you can see in the bottom screen, there's a QR code there. So you scan the QR code, you can join our Patreon. You get 1 month for free.
no, you don't.
And
No.
No month free now.
No. That was at the start. There's no month free anymore, but it's the price of a pint. Give it a go. If you like it, look, it's only going to cost you the price of a pint. If you don't like it, bin it off. No big deal. But yeah, it does help out a lot. And there's loads of content going on there. It's kind of like we were saying it last night on there. We're trying to do alternate shows between Patreon and YouTube. So we were on Patreon last night. It would be YouTube tonight. It would be Patreon tomorrow afternoon for the final 20. YouTube then for Sunday. And then next week we'll do the Ref Watch and all that lovely good stuff. Because the thing is, you can do a lot more on Patreon than YouTube allows, especially when it comes to showing videos and clips, match clips, and analysing them and talking about them. And yeah, it's basically the cost of a pint.
Yeah. And normally late night, normally with Ash or with Matt, because it's not late for them. We also do post-match extra, which normally is where Gav has got all the clips together of the game, so you can go through instance. Whereas, to be fair, post-match, when we do it, Kev, with Ash, is more on vibes and how you feel after the game. And then you can, a few hours later, see what happens. So that's good. And don't forget our partner, NordVPN. Details are in the descriptions below. Really good for cybersecurity. Also really good if you want to watch content that is not available in your country. I'll let you sort of join the dots there. And we'll go from there. So let's talk about the other games. So the early kickoff, Kev, this game got very interesting, and my social media, especially my Twitter, got very busy because it's Arsenal against Forest, and Forest have got a new manager. He's a very interesting chap. I believe you've heard of him. He's called Ange Postecoglou. Has joined Forest. So he's got your favourite manager has gone to your favourite chairman. So are you looking forward to watching Murillo doing a ridiculously high line and getting spanked 6-0?
I honestly don't think they'll change a thing. I don't think they'll change. I don't think they'll change a single thing because I don't think they'll be able to. Arsenal will pin them in, and Arsenal will do what Arsenal do. Forest's only game plan viable against this Arsenal side is to play in on the counter, sit in, be compact, and look to hit on the break. And they have plenty of players that can play on the break and give Arsenal plenty of problems. But it's a game Arsenal should win comfortably. I expect Arsenal to run that out, maybe 3-0.
Cool. I've got 3-1. Ash, how do you see that game?
I'm going to say 2-0 to Arsenal. I don't see it going any other way. I'd love for there to be a revival of the really defensively solid Forest, but I don't know if Ange really knows how to do that. I know he's done it a couple times in Europa, but not with new players. I think it's just going to end up being a little bit of a shit show.
Yeah, it's amazing how this is how we play, mate. Is always the same until he got to Europe. Then he was quite happy then to learn how to defend. It was very funny.
Right. Matt, it's the price of a thimble of your wine. I'll just leave it at that.
15 euro.
15 quid for a glass of wine in Dublin city centre. You lot is getting robbed up the country.
I mean, she does like her rosé bubbly, so maybe it's a little bit more.
She's a lady, so in fairness,
she's got good taste.
Yeah. Not cheap by any standards.
Maybe that Adidas manufacturer can take her out for a nice drink.
Yeah.
There we go. Right, Ash, South Coast Derby, Bournemouth-Brighton, which I think will be very entertaining.
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be one of the games that we watch in our final 20 and kind of catch up on. So, if you're interested in signing up for Patreon, that's going to be one of those games. I just think it's going to be exciting. I think both teams play exciting brands of football. I'm going to edge Bournemouth on it. I just think that he is just a little bit better, I guess, of a coach. I don't know if better is the word I'm looking for, but he feels like a little bit more established and a little bit more senior and able to kind of adjust in game a little bit more. I'm going to say high scoring game, 3-2 Bournemouth.
Cool. I'm going to go for 2-2. Kev?
Yeah, I think Bournemouth should hopefully run comfortable in that. I think 2-0. I think Brighton lost their director of football today as well, didn't they?
They did. Well, he stepped
away.
Know
he was there. I didn't know he was there.
Yeah.
It was weird. They cited that they wanted to go in a new direction. And it's strange because he's like one of the best in the game at being a director of football. Yeah. So I really don't understand. I don't know what new direction they're trying to go in.
Does he go to Everton?
Unless he goes to Spurs.
Or Spurs, yeah.
That's a shout.
Yeah. Look, I just think that...
Or Chelsea, because that's where everyone from Brighton goes, isn't it?
Yeah, I just look at this one and I look at Brighton and I think, okay, I think they're a side in transition. Some really good players, both sides. You know, it could be the game of the weekend. It really could. But I just think that Bournemouth should have enough in that one.
Fair enough. Kev, step you. Palace against Sunderland. Sunderland have had a very good start to the season with 2 wins, and they've added more to their squad, you know, with the lads from Ajax. So it should be an interesting game. Palace obviously kept hold of Mark Guehi. Yeah. I've noticed now the manager has now come out and all said, "Wasn't me, Gov. I didn't threaten to leave. It's all
that was bizarre.
It's all of the chairman. Don't shout at me, Mark." I wonder whether that's a bit of a game just to keep his player happy.
I don't buy that for a second, and I don't think the player does either. Look, the people involved in that situation know what happened, you know, and it'll come out in the fullness of time. But on this game, I think Palace are going to start now into a period of football that they've never experienced before, where they're going to have to manage 3 competitions up until December with a squad that's, you know, it's a good squad. But it's a thinnish squad. I think these are the kind of fixtures now that need to be picking up 3 points. I think they will. I think they'll have enough for Sunderland, and I think 2-1. But it'll be one of those games. I think Palace are going to have to work for it.
Davey T's gone 5-0 Palace. I can't think why Davey T, our resident Newcastle fan, has gone 5-0 to Crystal Palace. But we'll leave that one out there.
Let him be optimistic, Ash. I guess.
What are you saying, Ash?
I think it'll be a little bit lower scoring. I'm going to go, I agree with Bonkers, 2-1 Palace.
Yeah, I think I'm edging towards 2-1 Palace. Next 3 o'clock game, there's loads of 3 o'clock games.
There's a lot, yeah.
I think it's the one I'm going to watch, which is the Ev at the Hill Dickinson at home to Aston Villa, which to us, Everton Villa is normally a good game. Ash, this will be an interesting one because Villa's record at Everton is pretty decent. But to be fair to Everton have had a really good start to the season. You know, probably should have also not the Leeds game. You know, did well in the home games. And Villa have been quite indifferent.
Yeah, Villa's a weird one because they have started poorly in the past and then kind of peaked later in the season. I mean, it happened last year. We were all really worried about Villa, and they were okay. They were fine. I think they need to get their new players integrated. I'm excited to see Harvey. I expect him to start. This really is sort of like the Jack Grealish derby because he's kicked on in a big way at Everton. I think that's a really smart signing. I think he just won Player of the Month for the Premier League, and it's the first time he's ever done it, which is kind of crazy considering how well he did at Villa. But to see him revitalize his career, I mean, as much as I don't necessarily like him, you want to see that for a player. If they do kind of fall on hard times, you want to see them be able to revitalize that. So yeah, I think for me, it's going to be Harvey Elliott versus Grealish and kind of who's going to take the crown there. Because I do expect Elliott to, I would hope, start, given the fact that, you know.
He's the number 9 now.
He's their number 9, and also I don't know why he would leave our bench if he's going to go sit on another bench. So I expect him to start. So I think it's just going to be worth watching just for that. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are talking about how Everton are like a little too jolly. And, you know, I don't know.
I like this because normally in the lead into a derby, whenever they're jolly and cocky, it normally plays to Liverpool's advantage. The worst time to play Everton is when things are turgid and they think they're going to lose. Kev, we've seen enough of them. When Everton are in a poor run of form, it's the worst time to play them in a derby.
Yeah,
you actually got to play Everton when they're quite cock a hoop because they're actually a bit more open and give you more opportunities.
So let's just go with that. Let's
saying
let
that,
Jack Grealish run amok.
Saying that, I'm going to go with 2-2 Elliot with a last minute winner, equaliser. Sorry, just because that'll be quite funny.
I think Everton win this one 2-0, 3-0 maybe.
They probably will, Kev. But let me.
No, I just looking at their potential starting 11. It's really well balanced. Moyes has built a really well balanced squad here,
and he's getting a good tune out. He's getting a good tune out of Beto, isn't he?
He's got a bit of everything in this, and he's got options off the bench as well. So,
Moyes knows how to do that. He knows how to kind of take mid-table talent and make them shine.
Yeah.
And then kind of make them be more of more than the sum of their parts.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think you look at what he did with West Ham, and you sprinkle in a bit of Ferry does with Paqueta and with Bowen into a squad of decent players. You can do stuff, and I mean Everton's sitting fifth at the minute. You're not really looking at league tables, but they've looked good in the games that they've played. I think they've looked dangerous in some of those games. And the thing is with Villa, you don't know what you're getting. They've got a lot of players that they got in. They got players that they got in really late in the window that they have to try to integrate into a cohesive unit. And going away to Everton is not really the ideal place to be experimenting, even if it is a new pitch and a new ground and what have you. It's a big ask, I think, for Villa this one. I'd go with Everton.
Fair enough. Ashley's run off. She's had enough. So, Kev, quick fire. Fulham against Leeds.
I'm alive, don't worry.
Fulham.
Had enough.
Fulham 2-0.
Yeah, I think that. Ash, Fulham Leeds, quick fire score?
Fulham win 1-0.
Okay. And then the last 3 o'clock kickoff. God, it's a very busy 3 o'clock. Newcastle at home to Wolves. Newcastle's manager did not want to talk about Isak, but then spoke about Isak for quite some time. As mentioned, Jacob Ramsey, who needed more game time and a new fresh start, is out injured for about a month. And Wissa, who is the Callum Wilson replacement, is out with a knee injury. So he is the Callum Wilson replacement. Not much has changed. So how are we seeing this, Ashley?
I still think Newcastle win comfortably. I think that Voltemata is a smart signing. If he starts, I'm not sure if he's ready. I'd assume he is, because I'm assuming that he was training in Germany.
For Germany.
Yeah. So I think that having that central striker there, I mean, they looked really good against us. They, if they have that same sort of desire to win, I think they'll be just fine. And I think that Wolves, I worry about them. I could see them as one of the ones that potentially take the spot of one of those newly promoted sides. It depends on whether or not he can turn it around, because he is a good coach. He's done it before. But I worry about the lack of leadership and kind of senior players in that squad. And
there's no Strand Larson, Kev, because the injury he had, which everyone thought was a bit of a making up one for a move to Newcastle, they said it's an Achilles injury, and I think it's more serious than they first thought. So the main goal threat is also not going to feature against Newcastle.
That's not good. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to have something to scare Newcastle and to worry them going the other way. If you don't have that, they'll run amok on you. Osula probably does start up front. Joe Linton is probably going to miss out as well. So
Gordon misses out too. He's still suspended.
Gordon's suspended, and Ramsey's out, Vissa's out. But you still have the likes of Guimaraes, Tonali. Miley probably comes in. Elanga, Barnes. They have plenty of weapons.
I think Barnes and Elanga will service Voltemata, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. If Voltemata starts, actually, it wouldn't surprise me to see Newcastle switch to a 4-2-3-1 and play Osula up front with Voltemata in behind him.
He's done it before. He's played as a 10 before.
Yeah, and I think his natural game is that false 9, 10 role. I think he can do both.
Davey says Joe Linton is fit, so
well, he's coming up
helps.
here. He's coming up here as doubtful, so he might, if he's off the bench or whatever. But I would like to see Newcastle play with Tonali and Guimaraes as a double six and see how they fare. Because I think ultimately, if you've got Vissa and Voltamata as options, I think there's every chance you could fit both into that side fairly handy. But I can't see Wolves getting much change out of this one.
Yeah. Okay. And then 5:30 kickoff, the game that has had half and half scarves banned for this game is Spurs go to possibly the saddest stadium in the country at the moment. There is not a lot of joy in West Ham. So it's West Ham at home to Spurs. West Ham, listen, they're coming off the back of a big win against Forest, but West Ham at home have been awful, Ashley, and there is not a happy. It just doesn't feel a happy camp at the moment around West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, even the game against Forest, like if you turn the game off at I think about like 80 minutes, you would have thought, oh well, like West Ham got dominated. Forest is probably going to win this in the end. So if they've basically had 10 good minutes of this entire season. It's whether or not they can kind of replicate that 10 minutes. Because I think it was more of a Forest collapse than a West Ham masterclass. I have no idea what happened to Forest at that point in time. It literally was just like the floodgates opened up. I think that Spurs probably have enough to beat them. I think that was a one-off for Forest. And like I said, I think that was more Forest collapsing than West Ham being brilliant.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs. What about you, Kev? I mean, Spurs now have a proper manager.
Yeah, and you have Mohamed Kudus going back to West Ham as well. I think Spurs absolutely batter them. And I think I can see a really high scoring. I mean, next level goes 4-0. I could see it being more. I think Spurs could absolutely batter West Ham. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised you'll see West Ham fans walking out on the half hour.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I just think that West Ham have been turgid this season. And despite the Forest result, it just, even in that performance, it looks all kinds of wrong. They don't look like they could string passes together if their lives depended on it. I think they're in an awful mess.
I think they just got rid of the wrong players and didn't replace them. Yeah. Like smart, good players. I don't know. I can't believe they even let them go.
Yeah, I mean, Centurion LFC also does make good points. West Ham against West Ham and Spurs is normally always a good game. If you're neutral, which to be fair, it is. Most Northland dubs can be quite entertaining. Final game on Saturday, 8 o'clock kickoff. It's a wall-to-wall football this Saturday. Brentford at home to Chelsea. Kev, quick fire. You fancy Chelsea?
Yeah, you have to. But I think Chelsea might make a bit hard work of it. Brentford's a tricky ground still. Under the lights, it's London derby as well. It'd be a good watch. I think that could be a good watch. I still don't know what Brentford are doing. You know what I mean? They just look like they're still trying to figure out what life without Thomas Frank is going to be. So we'll see. I think you'd expect Chelsea to go and get a result there. But in fairness, if this one ended a draw, it wouldn't be a massive shock. But credit where it's due, Chelsea are in a decent run of form. So we shall see.
Okay, and then Ash, we finish on Super Sunday, which hopefully would you, me, and Kev will just be talking about post-match about how Liverpool have won. Fingers crossed. And then it's the Manchester derby, Man City at home to Man United. Man United, who have a pretty decent record recently at the Etihad, not so much at Old Trafford, but a bit of a mixed bag for both sides in terms of injuries. There's no Mount or Cunha for United, and I think Cherki and Mamouche are both out for City, and I think Stones is a doubt, but Donnarumma might make his debut.
Yeah, I read somewhere that there was like 13 injuries for Man City, which for me just screams another sort of, hey, the Club World Cup was a really shit idea.
They should have played. They should have just played paddleboard, shouldn't they? They'd have been fine.
I mean, they should have just not played at all, and just done a proper preseason, because this is kind of what we all thought was going to happen. And I think you're going to see it with more Chelsea players falling off as well. You know, this is a tough one to call, because I can't get behind rooting for Man United in terms of, you know, thinking that they're going to win a game. I could see this being a draw, actually. You know, maybe like a 2-2 draw. It just depends on whether or not Haaland has one of those days where if he shows up and decides to score a load of goals, then, you know, there's nothing they can do about that. But I don't see City losing another game in a row. I just think that I mean, it's just not Pep-like.
It's very rare he does 2 in a row. So
yeah, it's very, very rare. So I think the best that we can hope for probably is a draw.
Kev, where are you? I mean, Man United actually will have a goalkeeper, because they've actually signed a highly rated one, and they've got rid of the one that they all hated.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that he's still going to stick with the Turkish lad.
Really?
Yeah, because your man hasn't really trained with the club yet. He's only been in the door a few days. You know, you came in right at the back end of the transfer window. They went on international break. Come back. He's only been inside the training ground really for a few days. You know, so I think they'll probably go with the Turkish lad. United surprisingly have a very good record away at the Etihad, and
Ahmad always seems to do very well though.
Exactly. This is going to be a massive test of Man City against the counter-attack. United are surely just going to sit in and try to hurt them on the break. And in Ahmad, they have that threat of massive pace, and in Buemo, they have that threat of massive pace.
I wonder if they'd be trying to do what Brighton did, Kev, which is sit in for the hour. Because then when Brighton made that quadruple
sub at 60
on 60,
yeah,
I think that's also when City were tiring, and they probably didn't have the physicality to bring on to replace it.
Exactly.
But Rodri's had another couple of weeks training. I think he went away with Spain, so I think that's always the key for City. If Rodri's firing all cylinders, that sort of stops a lot of problems.
Well, Ashley mentioned the injuries there to City. I'm just reading them here. You have Bentinelli out, Kovacic out, Riley's out, Mamouche is out, 8 Nuri, Sharkey, Lewis, Savinho, all listed as out or doubtful. So even with all of that, I'm sure Man City will put out a strong 11. I'm sure that the subs off the bench, maybe sub 1 and sub 2, are going to be very good. But this game is one that Man City should be winning handy. But given the fact that it's a Manchester derby, it's United have that record against them. They have something to hold on to go there with a bit of confidence that they can get a result. I'll go for Man City, but it wouldn't surprise me if United beat them. Honestly, it just wouldn't. It just seems against anyone else, I'd say fair enough. City
except Spurs. If it was Spurs, I think I'd root for Spurs again.
Oh,
Spurs and Man United, they're like the two bogey teams for City.
Yeah, exactly. They just have a way, and especially the way United are quite comfortable sitting in, you know, with a bank of 4, bank of 5, with the 2 or 3 City midfielders, and look to frustrate and hit on the counter.
Do you think Sesko starts?
He might do because of the injuries, I would say.
Yeah, he might have to. Okay. He might have to now. It's and the fact if he does start, you have someone that you can hit, and hopefully get up the pitch, and go from there. But I mean, we'll be off for the second half, so we'll find out. We'll keep everyone up to date with what goes on in our post match of what goes on in the first half. But yeah, it's what you expect Man City to win this, don't you, really? But then we say that every time last season and the season before, you expect Man City to turn over United and pretty much more sides. And then they find a way to stumble to mess it up.
Great, isn't it?
It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that happy note, before we go, Kev, Ashley, anything you want to add before we go? Oh, don't forget the top. So don't forget, if you're a patron, don't forget final 20 tomorrow afternoon, which is
Yeah, just to walk people through that. So in case you've never heard of our Final 20 show, basically, as the name suggests, we come on for the final 20 of the games in the afternoon. So it's the 3:00 game in the UK. It's 10 in the morning for me. And we kind of just rapid fire shout out all the things that are happening, but also just have a bit of a football chat. It's our kind of version of a watch along. We don't really do that often, but it tends to be a lot of fun. The final 20 minutes tends to be when all the action happens in those games for some reason. So we really enjoy it. I think it was Matt's brainchild. So credit where credit is due. It has turned out really, really great. And if you guys feel like joining us, the more the merrier. The chat will be going in Patreon live, so it's not like a pre-record. You guys will be able to interact with us as we go along. So yeah, definitely check that out. I mean, the games, like you guys have said multiple times, the matchups feel much more interesting this week than they have kind of in the weeks prior. I feel like there's a lot of really evenly matched teams, especially in that 3:00 time slot. I think that Villa Everton game, very, very close. That Brighton Bournemouth game, very, very close. There should be some really good watches. And saying that, it's probably all just going to end up being 0-0. But
and I'll probably go full Chris Kamara and just go, I have no idea what's happened. You tell me.
Well,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've made a life skill of this.
Hey, mate,
I don't think no one's going to be surprised, Chris.
It's got me on this shelf for 5 years, mate. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Nothing else from me. Just looking forward to the weekend, getting back to a bit of normality. And in fairness now, you're back to normal football now. You know, league, Europe, league. You know,
Europe will be interesting.
Bang, 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 bang. Now.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see the European games come back. I feel like it's coming back with a bang to come back with Atletico Madrid.
7 games in 20 days.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about this Wednesday early Saturday turnaround. Like, I hate that. I hate the fact that we're playing the Everton derby early. I hate the fact that Matt's not even going to be around to be able to actually enjoy the early kickoff, because that's kind of the only time that he gets to partake these days. But yeah, I'm a little worried about that. So like I said earlier, I'm curious to see that rotation come in, because I think we're going to need it this week.
Very good. Right. So until then, please please subscribe, become a patron. It's all good fun. Don't forget our partner NordVPN, and then for you patrons, we'll see you tomorrow for the final 20. And then for the rest of you guys on YouTube, we will see you on Sunday for Pokemon Attraction, which will, again, us three, hopefully, we'll talk about another Liverpool win. Until then, take care, up the Reds.